This man is no stranger to what's next. It's a great pleasure to welcome back Sabahat Kazi, who is the president of Intelligent Enterprise at Nihilent and the co-founder of Intellect Bizware, joining us all the way from India. And it's great to see you again, Sabahat. How have you been?
I'm good and good to be back, Aki, and thanks for having me again on your show. Looking forward to a great conversation again like last time.
Now, I look forward to it. I mean, the last time we chatted, we were right in the middle of this global pandemic. It seems to have eased off, but it's by no means over. And the impact that the pandemic has had on all sorts of businesses, remote working and supply chain contractions. And, we're still seeing those supply chain issues globally. And we're going to focus on some of those issues today. But we spoke quite a bit last time about intelligent supply chain. So let me ask you first, by framing this conversation, what do we mean by intelligent supply chain, and what is the relevance in today's post-COVID world?
So, Aki, supply chain is a complex area, but just to simplify, it consists of planning, procurement, production that a company might be doing, and then distributing, logistics, getting your product to the end consumer. That's the whole point of a supply chain. And these are elements involving multiple stakeholders. You have the one who's producing, the one who's supplying raw materials, the transporter, the end consumer, and so on and so forth. All these elements are tightly integrated. They are all connected like a chain. And you pull one end and the other end also gets pulled, provided there is no slack in the chain. And as they say, a chain is as strong as the weakest link. So it's very important for the supply chain to operate correctly. We have seen the chip shortage, for example, which has impacted not electronics, it has impacted the automobile industry, for example. Look at what's happening because of the Ukraine crisis in Europe. So all these things are very important. What's realized now, especially after COVID and now with the Ukraine crisis, is that the supply chain needs to be very resilient. It needs to be very flexible. And at the same time, if we can introduce as much of intelligence into the supply chain, the better it will be. And when I say intelligence, what I mean is there are now so much of technologies which are available. For example, AI, ML is something we keep hearing about. If we bring those elements into the supply chain, a lot of decision making, a lot of manual activities, a lot of activities that a user needs to do, sometimes the user may not be available, all those things can be largely automated. And then what we can ensure is the kind of shortages that we have seen in the past, those do not materialize. And the world of business can operate much more easily, much more smoothly.
Absolutely. And of course, you have that information at the touch of your fingerprints. You don't have to wait for it. It's instantaneous, available in front of you. So that's really interesting about the supply chain and how technology is in fact unlocking a tremendous amount of value and taking out a lot of the guesswork from what I'm hearing from you, because there's so much complexity along that supply chain. It's almost impossible for us to track it efficiently from start to finish. Can you elaborate on SAP BTP and how does it help enable this?
Sure, Aki. I think in today's world, there is constant disruption, not just in terms of what's happening around the world, but also in terms of new technologies that are coming up that the customer would want to use. And the end consumer is also expecting that a company, say for example, a manufacturer of a hand wash or a air conditioner, they try and bring in those technologies and make the lives of the consumer easier. There are a lot of new business models which have come up. One important thing which you would have noticed last couple of years is there are a lot of startups now. And those startups, the kind of scale that they are growing, the speed with which they are growing, the older companies which were set up maybe a couple of decades back are not able to catch up. They are reaching the revenue numbers that an old, maybe a 20, 25-year-old company has reached just a short 2-3 years of time. So a lot of these older companies, if I can call them that, are facing the heat because of new models, because of new experiences that new technology is able to deliver. So what SAP has done is they have come up with a solution, an innovation solution called the Business Technology Platform, which we are referring to as BTP. It will solve the problem, and I would say it will, in a way, restore the balance of power. So the power which is now resting with these startups and the new age companies, I think the older companies will also be able to exploit that power of technology. I will not even hesitate to say that probably it will give an edge to the older companies. The reason being they already have stable processes. They don't face the kind of problems that a new age company faces in terms of manpower, in terms of processes not being set. So I think it will help these customers a lot. Uh, the older companies have always worried about the IT infrastructure as well. That's something which is not core to them. Why are they supposed to worry about the infrastructure? What database they are using, what OS, what patch to apply? All that is going to move away to the cloud, is not something of a bother for these companies, so they can focus on their core competence. And second, also very important is whatever new age technologies are coming up, those are already available on the business technology platform, and a client needs to kind of use them. It's like a Lego block of sorts. Bring those Lego blocks together, create something new, create a new business model, create a new application, use things like low code, no code to very quickly turn around and solve their business problems. So, otherwise, typically, if you would have to build an application, it's a long process. You have to work with multiple vendors, application providers, database from someone, a platform from some other partner. It's not very easy, and it all that takes time. Now,
Yes.
what is happening with the technology platform is you are doing away with that. You have one single vendor, one single platform to look at, and create as many use cases as you would want. And especially for SAP customers, because of the seamless integration that you get with BTP, I think that's the way forward for most enterprises.
Oh, that's so interesting. When you look at those ready solutions, I know that Nihilent has ready solutions that you've developed specifically for the intelligent supply chain on SAP B2P. Can you elaborate on that for us, please?
Sure, Aki. So there are a suite of solutions that we have. The idea is to create an intelligent real-time supply chain for customers. Uh, a supply chain has two sides. You have on one side the demand side, as we call it, where your consumer, your distributor, dealers, all those reside. And the other side, you have your suppliers who typically supply you your raw materials, your packing materials, so many other kind of services. There are even subcontracting partners also who manufacture for you on your behalf. Now, the problem is all of them are not connected together seamlessly. You're not able to get the information in one single go. Each one would operate on a different system. So the idea of the iSuite of products is to bring them all together on one platform. Just for example, there's one product on the demand side. Your end consumer, ultimately you're selling to your end consumer. Can we connect that consumer and get the information right out in your system for you to analyze and decide what to do? So Engage is one such product where, say for example, a company which is manufacturing air conditioners, they can give this app to their end consumer. The consumer can register their product, they can see their warranty, they can log in if there is any service requirement. Even if there is a part which is replaced, that part can be authenticated using a QR code or a barcode. If you are selling it through a channel, through a distributor, typically these companies do not even know who their end consumer is. And in today's world, not knowing your end consumer, I think you are missing out on one of the biggest advantages that probably you can get. There is another product called iDeal, which is a portal for your dealer distributor. I talked about the channel through whom you are selling. So iDeal basically takes care of the dealer distributor, how to engage with them. They can give their buying requirement. They can sell to their end consumer. They can get analytics on what is happening. And there is some intelligence also which has been built into this solution. On the other side, from a planning forecasting perspective, we have a solution called Resense, which we have ported to the BTP as well. It's a forecasting and replenishment solution using machine learning models, using not just the past history of how your sales have been, it's also looking at certain external factors. For example, you had the T20 World Cup going on. If you're a pizza company, you would know that on this particular day my demand is going to be high. So all those external factors are taken into account, and you are able to predict in a much better way, plan your, not just your material, even your manpower, so much better. There are other products as well. There is an iVen portal which is meant for your suppliers. So whatever requirements you have, you can expose them to your suppliers so they have advanced information, and they can then in turn plan the materials that they are supposed to supply to you. All this improves the inventory levels. It improves the kind of inventory which you're getting, which is not the slow moving one, but the one which is actually required. So
Yes.
multiple benefits in terms of working capital, in terms of improving your revenue, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Well, listen, I was hoping that you wouldn't bring in the cricket into the conversation based on the Proteas performance of recent, but thank you for reminding us here in South Africa about our dismal performance at the T20. Thank you very much. We're still in therapy getting over this weekend. But you touched on earlier on Ideal, and I want you to expand on this and how Ideal helps by connecting the dealers and the distributors. Can you expand on that?
So coming back to the point you raised about the Proteas performance, I think it was very close, and I think the World Cups are held every 2 years. So I think there is in 2 years you'll be able to win it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the optimism. Thank you.
So coming back to Ideal, as I mentioned earlier, it's meant more for your dealer distributors. It's the idea is that you engage your primary customers. You will be selling to an end consumer, but what about your primary customers? In fact, dealers are a very important part of the supply chain. They are your representatives in the market. And if the dealer is not performing the way they are supposed to perform, I think it reflects very badly on the brand. So it's important that you also provide them a system which is standardized. You also provide them with the intelligence so that they can plan better. What happens if the distributor doesn't have the product that the market wants? It actually creates a big problem because you lose revenue on one side, and at the same time you also lose the goodwill, which typically a customer not getting the product will not probably come back to you and probably will go to the competition. Typically, the way the planning happens is at the end of the month, you plan for the next month what you're going to produce. Say you have 3 products, you're going to produce X, Y, Z in equal quantity. But when the month starts, what happens is maybe the product Y sells more, product Z doesn't sell that much. But if that information is not there with you, you'll keep on producing X, Y, Z in equal quantities. What happens is you are ending up with higher inventory of a product which is not selling, which is Z, and at the same time you are short on the product which is actually selling more in the market, which is Y. So it creates a direct impact on your financials, and this is what we try to address using Ideal. And the element of intelligence that we have built in is when the dealer is placing an order on the company, at the time he's ordering products ABC, but based on a machine learning algorithm, I know that product Y is also going to move in the market. So I would recommend that in the order itself, so the dealer can take a call that he should also order for Y, which otherwise he would have missed. Because most dealer distributors operate on a kind of a rule of thumb. They don't really do a scientific analysis of how or what they should be ordering in what quantity. So it's helping bring that intelligence to the dealer as well. And it's a win-win for the company as well as for the dealer distributor.
Well, you're unlocking tremendous amount of value for the company. To be able to have that intelligence and that view of your business is really critical in today's world. Now, when you look at the future roadmap for these kind of solutions that we've been talking about on SAP and BTP, what is that future roadmap?
Yeah, so we have a very optimistic view on developing solutions on BTP, and the reason are multiple. One reason I think is because it's a seamless solution when it comes to SAP customers. So it's very easy for the customer to adopt. Today, the world is about doing things quickly rather than waiting for a project that takes 6 months, 7 months to give you the kind of results. So that's the first advantage. Second is SAP BTP supports multiple clouds. So there are a lot of hyperscalers, AWS, you have Microsoft, Azure, and so on. You are getting best of all of them. So whatever new services come, say for instance, there's a new AI service which is made available. On BTP, if that service is available, I'm going to use that service, create a new kind of an app. There are a lot of other services. For example, there is an intelligent robotic process automation service. If I want to automate some process, maybe I don't want human intervention in a certain process, it's just picking up something from the mail and putting it into another system. Why do I need to keep it manual? I will probably automate that kind of a thing. All those are available on BTP, and I think with the comprehensive insights that we would want to bring in over a period of time, not just insights to look at, but also recommendation, prescriptive kind of analytics, where we tell the customer what decision would be better in terms of probability. Those are the things we would want to do, and move these solutions to a SaaS kind of a model, software as a service, where a customer can probably use it as a plug and play, download and just deploy the solution.
Okay, very interesting. Now, all of these products that we've been talking about and these solutions that we've been discussing, how do customers actually engage with you? How do they get these solutions that we've been talking about?
Yeah, so there are multiple ways. The solutions are also very modular. So if someone wants to only engage with their suppliers, they can take the iVen solution. They only want it for the consumer, they can take the Engage solution. And two ways to deploy. One is what solution we have developed, we can deploy it on the customer's own BTP tenant. Many customers now have BTP tenants, in fact, and we can just deploy it there. And there is a small bit of implementation work because each client would have his unique way of looking at business. So we integrate the system considering those nuances. The other way is to offer it as a SaaS kind of a service. It's available today on the SAP store. So this is like your iOS app store. You can just download, or you can do the commercials transaction on the SAP store, and then later on deploy it as per your requirement. So both the options are available. One thing which we have seen is a lot of customers are looking at these solutions also as accelerators. Start off with these products, get the minimum functionality, and then whatever differentiation, whatever new things they want to build in, they can easily build because it's all available on BTP. It's not like it's proprietary to me that only I can make the change. That product is available. Customer can make the changes accordingly. Some customers I have seen also want to have a solution which reflects their corporate identity. So we can change the skin of the solution, the look and feel, so that it reflects like a customer's own corporate look. So those are also available as an option.
Sabahat, before I let you go, I mean, this has been a very interesting evolution of supply chain, and it's constantly evolving. And in fact, if there's one sector in the manufacturing cycle, or the way businesses are run today, that supply chain is probably one of the most critical components of an organization. And we've just seen this incredible evolution happening, even leading up to COVID. But I think what COVID did was it just accelerated it even further. How do you see the future of supply chain and SAP BTP? Where's it all going?
Akib, what's also happening is because of these technological changes which are happening, the day is not far when even though all these stakeholders in the supply chain use their own systems, they will all be connected seamlessly using what people refer to as the API economy. So using APIs, all these disparate systems can be brought together. So this is the future I see. This is the near future, where you will have a seamless view of your supply chain. Every system will be able to talk to every other system using APIs. Already happening, but I think it will become more seamless as we go along. The other major change I think overall that we'll see is due to 3D printing. It hasn't picked up the way it was hyped earlier, but I think its time will come. And once that is there, I think the supply chain, the paradigm shift will happen there, because you may not need warehouses, large warehouses. You may need very hyperlocal kind of places where you actually print. You may even have consumers printing a lot of these products going forward. So there will be a big change. Only thing I can say is that SAP BTP is well positioned. Either we look at the API economy, because SAP has something called as API Hub. You can connect with more than 2,400 different systems using that, different applications. And it will also support 3D printing, for example. And I think this is one platform which will bring the best of technology at the customer's doorstep to use, whatever way the supply chain trends evolve.
Absolutely fascinating. It's fantastic chatting to you again, Sabahat Kazi, President of Intelligent Enterprise at Nihilent and the co-founder of Intellect Bizware. I look forward to catching up again soon with you and looking at where the trends are moving towards. And thank you once again for your time, Sabahat, and I wish you a great day further.
Thank you so much, Akif, for having me, and looking forward to the next session. Thank you.